Well. I know y'all saw last night's episode. And that good Dr. Wendy had some things to say. She took to Twitter and said how a woman dresses and what she decides to do with her body has no bearing on her intelligence. We must stop trying to put people in a box. Women can be smart and sexy at the same time. We should be allowed to live our life on our own terms, not others. I define my sexiness, not you. Well, guess what, y'all? We're going to get into it and we're going to discuss she who lacks substance. Chime down in the chatterization and y'all tell me who is the person or people that actually lack the substance. I want to hear from y'all. Let's get into it. What's going on, y'all? We back in the building. We are back in the building, y'all. We back in the building. We got to talk about some things. We got to talk about Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 6, Episode 6, Land of the Free, Home of the Shade, okay? We about to get all the way up into it, okay? We about to get all the way up into it. Let's go ahead and discuss who we got in the building, y'all. Let's see who's in the building. Ohio, I see you. New Orleans is in the building. Come on now. Sky Squad, what's going on? St. Louis, Moreno Valley, California, Bowie, Maryland, from down the street, Hartford, Connecticut, Namibia, Memphis, I see you. Prairieville, Jersey, Baton Rouge, Bullhead City, Arizona, Lee Summit, Missouri, Peoria, Atlanta, Maryland, down the street, Hollis, Queens, baby, Winston, North Carolina, Maryland, London, embezzle has no substance, Los Angeles, Arlington, Texas, Silver Spring. Thank you guys so much for chiming in that good chatterization and letting us know where you guys are watching from. We always like to know where our Sky Squad is watching from. And now I want to go ahead and dive straight into this episode because we got a lot to talk about. Now, first things first, let me apologize for the simplicity of today's title of the video, right? Because it is more than just a double team on Wendy. It is really more of them badgering her than anything else. And it almost feels like an attempt to dim her light. But we're going to discuss that. And we're going to discuss this episode in general. And I want to start off by asking you guys to rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. I want you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to give this episode a 10 because I feel like there was so much subtext to this episode. And what I mean by subtext is that there were a lot of things that were being said and not being said. And I felt like sometimes in this episode, the subtext was actually a lot more powerful than the actual dialogue. And so really for me, from a sociological perspective, it really, I think, speaks to group norms and how women in specific groups relate to each other, because all of these ladies are kind of sequestered together for a weekend. And as we all know, that to me is when Housewives actually shines, okay? Because we really get to see the women interact with each other with no distractions, aside from Ashley not being able to be there because she is there with Baby Dean. But please, best believe Ashley and Michael Darby delivered a little bit of drama in last night's episode as well, okay? Yes. You are right, Paparazzi V. They are on fire this entire season, especially considering it was following Monique's last season. I'm going to give this episode a 10, okay? Let's get into it. Let's get all the way into it. We pick back up with Karen versus Gizelle. Gizelle is screaming about Ray living. She wants Ray to live and pay his bills. And she's reverting back to the tax conversation, which happened years ago. Karen tells her that is old, to bring up something new, but to a certain degree, Gizelle and Karen are both arguing about and bringing up things that happened years ago. When it seems to me their real beef is what happened at the reunion. Okay. Karen had Monique's back and went against Gizelle and really laid into her about the Jamal thing. Gizelle is still angry at Karen because she cannot direct that anger at Monique because Monique is no longer there. So she has to direct her anger towards Karen for what Gizelle is saying, spreading lies about her family, when it was, in fact, the only thing that Karen really kind of repeated was the same thing that Gizelle's own father had stated in a hot mic moment on the episodes in season 5. And she asked if Jamal was coming. Valid question. Valid question. So they're not really arguing about what's really the biggest issue between them. They're taking their arguments back to some other things that have, I guess, affected them both in the past. Okay. We got a super chat here from What About Now, who says the Green Eye Basics are mad at Wendy because she was able to upgrade her wardrobe. I wish they did that 4 years ago. And we're going to talk about, you know, the Green Eyed Bandits in relation to evolution in just 1 second. We're going to get there. We're going to really get into that subject. And I thank you for that super chat. Wendy interjects and says it's not technically wishing him death, which we did talk about yesterday in yesterday's video. We talked about whether or not it was really wishing him death as much as it was referring to him and then sort of implicating death happening before Gizelle's looks fade. Robyn says that telling Mia that Gizelle said that is the reason why Mia probably reacted to Gizelle the way that she did. Okay. And Candace says that they've both basically done stuff to each other, which is definitely true. And they need to listen to each other to work things out. Mia chimes in about them mending it. So does Skye, who is between the two of them physically. And Mia wants them both to acknowledge their hurts. And they both want apologies from each other and are done with each other until apologies happens. Candace tells them to talk amongst themselves away from the group. And I can honestly tell you, it doesn't matter if they talk amongst themselves without the group, because at the end of the day, there is no trust there between these two ladies, because at the end of the day, Gizelle will continue to poke and prod at other people's lives and relationships. Karen will continue to keep her foot on her neck and call her out. Gizelle will continue to go back and forth with Karen because that is basically the nature of their relationship, and it has been as such since the beginning of the show. Jameson Adams says, first time catching a live show. I'm excited. Also, what was the deal with the shady living arrangements? How did the Green Eye Bandits take over and it wasn't their trip? Let me answer this question, and I want to answer it with this in mind. I feel like in my mind, I feel like Candace needs a different edit this season, right? And so a sort of intermediary type of role is going to work better to soften her for viewers this season. At least that's what I would be thinking on a production standpoint. We need to warm her back up to the viewers, and we need to put her in a position so that she is able to successfully regain the love of the fans that she may have lost. And she probably gained a lot of fans as well. But I think that is the reason why she is in charge of this trip. But I also think that she acquiesces to Gizelle and Robyn quite a bit, because I think there is some sort of queen bee or head cheerleader or big sister almighty type situation happening with Gizelle. And some of the other girls tend to seem to want to fall in line with Gizelle and her right-hand person, who is Robyn. That's what I think. That's what I see in this group dynamic. But I could be wrong, okay? I could be wrong, and I'm willing to say that. But I like Candace in this role because I feel like it gives her a way to channel her energy. And it'll be interesting to see how things shake out with her, because in her confessionals, she's calling out the Green Eye Bandits, but she's not so much doing it in real time. So we'll see how this plays out. Thank you so much for the super chat, DeLeon Jones. I really appreciate that. All right, so getting back into the review. The ladies split off into group. Robyn feels bad that Ascala is in the cottage since she brought her into the group, but she ain't about to leave the main house for Ascala. Sharp Point, thank you for that super chat. And Denise, yes, there is a hierarchy, and I do believe that Candace understands what that hierarchy is, okay? And I think that part of that is on the part of production, but I think it's also because I feel like they often allow Gizelle to get away with things that they wouldn't allow other characters to get away with. But I also think it's up to the women themselves, because I was going to bring this up later, but I'm going to bring it up now. You know, Queens of Bravo, who I follow on Instagram, and I'm typically always in agreement with a lot of the stuff that they say, says it's truly astonishing how season after season, Gizelle moves the spotlight off of herself and keeps the target onto the rest of her castmates. On the one hand, it's a smart move, but on the other, maybe it's time the other women did the same. And so I genuinely think that this is definitely one of the most astute observations I have seen about this show in a long time. Now, Grace Greenleaf says Gizelle lacks substance on Real Housewives of Potomac, and Robyn is just, she's just a follower. Monique and Karen were the duo that would have squared off well against the Green Eye Bandits. Hashtag is Jamal coming. Absolutely, Grace Greenleaf. I appreciate that super chat as well. So let's get back into it. Let's get back into the review, because I know people want to, get into the subjects a little bit deeper. Now we get down to the cottage in the woods, okay? Because that's what it is. It's a 5-minute drive away, but it's still the cottage in the woods compared to the other house. Crystal Jewel with the super chat says, "I'm scared for Candace. She better watch out for Gizelle." Exactly. And we said it at the end of last season. I said in the reviews for the reunion, I said Wendy and Candace better watch out, because they will be the next targets. And what do you know? Thank you for that super chat. We had another one from Colby who says, "Not basic, only 2% of the population have green eyes." Thank you for that bit of information, Colby. Okay, so let's get back down to it. Down to the cottage in the woods, which is a 5-minute drive away. It is kind of small. Karen is talking about how she feels safe from Gizelle creeping into her room at night, demanding an apology. And I swear this took me out. For some reason, Karen talking about Gizelle always just takes me out, because she's hilarious the way she does it. Okay. To the group, she says that the cottage is quiet, as Gizelle was when she sent that apology text to the group. Gizelle is demanding an apology from Karen about the things that Karen has said about her. But Karen offered an apology to the group about the things that she said about her. But maybe what Gizelle is wanting is an on-camera apology about everything that happened with the Jamal thing. And I don't think that Karen is going to give her that, because we know from so many various sources that the word on the street was not that good about Jamal. Okay. I'm going to call them allegations, but go with it as you want. Okay. Anyway, Ascala talks to her husband. Karen is calling her Kala or something like that, because she don't know her name yet. And that just really goes to the introduction that we've gotten to Ascala thus far. I feel like we really don't know that much about her. We got more of her in this episode, and she's definitely asking some questions, and she's putting her input in there. But I think giving her a nice little intro package production would really be nice. Okay, do it at some point. Even now, we just want to know more about her, especially if she's going to have such a role in this group, right? Outside of her being Robyn's friend, because, Robyn, really the only friend that she really cares about is Gizelle, not Ascala. Anyway, we find out that, Gizelle and them, they have help with their luggage at their house, but down to the cottage in the woods, ain't no help for them. They got to take their own luggage up to their rooms. Back in Alexandria, Virginia, Michael and Ashley are juggling the 2 kids. Okay. They are, hanging out with the kids, taking photo. They're doing a photo shoot for the family, and the photo shoot looks great. Ashley she introduces this idea that, oh my God, when I saw Gizelle the other day, I just felt so much better seeing my girlfriends, and I don't want to go back into postpartum. So, Daddy, is it okay if I go down to the Williamsburg for one day with the girls, you know, because I want to hang out with my girlfriends, okay? And in my mind, I was like, is she asking him for permission to go down there? Not that you know, as a married couple, I understand that sometimes we do ask our spouses for permission to do something, or we do kind of ask in that way or say it in that way. But it just kind of, just because I think he's older to me, it just kind of came across like, hey, daddy, can I do this? And he was fine with it anyway. He was fine. I mean, she didn't say daddy, but that's what I heard in my head when she was talking to him. Hey, daddy, can I, you know, I mean, it would make me feel so much better if I could go down and visit my girlfriends for a day. And he's like, yes, baby, you could do that. I'll take care of the kids here. I'll bring the baby with me to work because I got a whole bunch of women at work that'll, you know, help me take care of this child. But I'll see you when I get back. That's the vibe it was giving me. Okay. That's the vibe it was giving. And that's what I heard in my head. Anyway, thank God Michael was here because Michael was doing his job today. So this is what happened next. She relays, after she gets done talking about that, Ashley tells him Gizelle is ready to date again, okay? And Michael is like, okay. And so she is asking Daddy, do you know any man that can that we can hook Gizelle up with? And he says, is Juan available? Now, Michael, you know better than that. You know Juan is getting ready to get married to Robyn as soon as the panorama is over. You know that, Daddy. And so anyway, he asked if Robyn and Juan have gotten married yet. Now, you know the answer to that too, Michael. She says that Robyn says they wait until after the pandemic. He says, I knew it wouldn't happen. The pandemic may be an excuse because if you get married, you getting married. And that's what I say too. I understand. Listen, Robyn and Juan have already been through the big wedding and all that kind of stuff like that. And at the end of the day, they ended up divorced. So now that they got an opportunity to reconnect like that, in my opinion, I feel like just go ahead and go down to the justice of the peace and get this thing popping, okay? You already in the last episode said that you are letting this man shoot up the club, but he ain't taking you to church yet. So at the end of the day, I feel like you just need to go ahead and do the doggone thing in your backyard of the house that you haven't built, okay? Because I just really feel like that, because otherwise you are just extending this marriage storyline into another season, or season after season after season, and we best to see this wedding happen on the air. We better see it. We better see it. But anyway, Michael said he no different. The ladies are getting ready for dinner, okay? Wendy is loving the new body, and she's rocking her Versace. I was gonna pull up the photo, but I'm gonna wait. She's rocking her Versace. We get a moment with Escala and Karen talking about their husbands, and I'm really warming up to Escala. I'm kind of liking her, and I just want more of her. But anyway, Wendy comes down looking like a goddess. I thought she looked good to me. I felt like she looked good. Okay. Gizelle and Robyn get together and wonder if Wendy likes the servant quarters, because she didn't seem too pleased with those quarters on the bus, which I'm surprised Candace gave her the servant quarters, because I felt like if you, Candace, brought her into the group, why would you put her into the slave? I mean, not the slave. Lord have mercy. Forgive me. That's what Gizelle called it, the slave quarters. I done got thrown off by my own shade. Anyway, if I am your friend, why would I put you in the cottage in the woods? Okay. And then, if you think about it, Robyn did the same thing to Escala. She put a friend in the cottage in the woods. It's like they just like, in my mind, I just don't get it. And I feel like this was another way that I feel like Candace was falling under that hierarchy of big sister almighty. Okay? That's what I feel like. But anyway, so then they get into talking about Wendy, and they say something is different about her. Okay? Gizelle wants to talk about, how much of her skin they are seeing right now. Robyn says, I mean, I get it. You spend money on a new body and you want to show it off, but it's such a difference from last year and Dr. Wendy, the professor. Now, what I will say is this. This is what I'm gonna say. Is Wendy different? Absolutely. We're getting a different Wendy this season. Maybe it is because she saw herself last season and she felt like she wasn't being herself. Maybe she felt like she wanted to be more of herself this season. Maybe the everybody making fun of the Dr. Wendy and the 4 degrees kind of got to her. I don't really know what it is, but what I do know is I expect a little bit of evolution from people from season to season. And I don't mind the fact that she is trying to elevate her look or whatever. I'm sure, again, and I talked about it last week, there has to be a difficulty with sometimes being put into, especially when you work in news. A lot of times you're expected to be very buttoned up, very suit and tie. And at a certain point in time, also, too, you want to just sometimes be able to just relax and be yourself. And to be quite honest with you, what I really feel like is that Wendy we really didn't get to see a lot of her personality outside of the Dr. Wendy persona, because the Monique and Candace situation was the major storyline in season 5. So Wendy's outside of her beef with Ashley and outside of getting to know her family, really had a kind of lightweight season, and we don't really know that much about her. So maybe this season we're just getting to know her better. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I want to acknowledge these super chats. Jameson M says they must be intimidated by happiness. Okay. Thank you, Jameson. We get another one from Toya who says, how cool would it have been to see Monique, Wendy, and Skylar and Karen's friendship? I enjoyed the friendship dynamic in the cottage. I actually enjoyed it too. Now, Miss Charlene says, yes, it was a 180. And I'm going to fully acknowledge that there is a big difference in her persona and in her energy. Let's say that this season. But I also think that there's part of that is purposeful, because I'm sure she wants us to know a bit more about who she is. And she probably doesn't want to come across as so buttoned up as she did last season. And last season, right, she was postpartum. So I'm sure there's a little bit of feeling that goes into what that does to you and well, really to a woman and to a woman's body. So I can't imagine what she has gone through in the transformation time frame, but I'm liking seeing a more like relaxed and fun Wendy. I don't mind it. That's just me. Okay. Anyway, we got another super chat in the building from Octavia. Thank you so much. Let's get back to it. Now, and also too, I told y'all last week too, back in the day, I used to want calf implants. Okay. And let me tell y'all something. If I had calf implants, I told y'all y'all would be getting this review right now from in betwixt my legs, because I would be showing y'all my calves every chance I got. So again, if you got something new on your body, flaunt it. I am a fan of that. Okay. We got another super chat who said from Katie, who says people are allowed to change. They are allowed to grow or become comfortable expressing themselves and trying new things, all because she isn't shopping at Soggy Stone Tacky Grandma Barn like Giselle. Thank you so much for that super chat, baby. I appreciate you, and you speaking the truth. You spitting the truth, okay? Now, anyway, Wendy and the other girls are arriving at the main cabin, and they have to ring the bell to come in. Back in the room with Gizelle and Robyn. Robyn says Wendy's personality is different, and they go in on her bodysuit from when she was arriving in the on the bus. Now, Robyn was saying that if she felt like just looking at that bodysuit gave her a wedgie. And I was thinking to myself, now granted, I did not like Wendy's bodysuit when they was getting on the bus. And that's fine. That's a matter of personal taste. That was just that. But wasn't Robyn about 2 episodes when she was sitting down to meet with Mia and Giselle coming into the scene, talking about how the bodysuit that she had on was giving her a wedgie anyway? So maybe she's just prone to wedgies. Okay. Anyway, they feel like something is off with Wendy, and they want to know if she's okay. So in my mind, why not pull her to the side and ask her in private? Why not do that? Why not pull her to the side? Because if you're really concerned about her, I feel like that's what you would do. That's what a friend would do, right? Or wrong? Am I right or wrong? Okay. Tiara says they just mad because they built like luggage. Not luggage. I'm here for Wendy's body and new tube. I love you, Richie. I love you too, boo. And thank you for that super chat. Yeah, she did say that. So like, why? I mean, come on now. You can dislike her bodysuit, and that could be a matter of taste. But you know, I think it's just. And I'm gonna get to it in a second, though. I'm gonna get to it in a second. Trust and believe. I got a thought on it. Robyn said that when they met her, she exuded substance, and she instantly liked Wendy, and they instantly connected. She wonders if she were to meet Wendy today, if it would be the same way. And in my mind, there was so much subtext here. I felt like it was almost like they were saying, we liked Wendy when she was a bit more buttoned up, but we don't necessarily like this new Wendy who is showcasing her body and her curves. It's a little bit too much for us to handle. And so we don't know if we really like this new person. And the subtext here that I'm reading into is almost like, you're not allowed to be sexy, Wendy. You are supposed to fit into that doctor professor box that you built for yourself last season and nothing else. And we who are in charge of the hierarchy do not approve of this new version of yourself, okay? You didn't get our approval. And we don't do all that sexiness here, okay? We are the ones who are supposed to be the cute girls in the squad, not you. You're supposed to be the professor. That's what I read from that conversation, pretty much, okay? Let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section, okay? So she says the old Wendy was confident and secure, but Zen Wen is confused. Not really, okay? Cammy says, notice Zen Wen dragging Gizelle and Watch What Happens Live came on at 3:30 a.m. for some reason. Wonder if they didn't want the bad image before the chat room takeover. I'm not really sure. I didn't see it yet, and we'll talk about it maybe tomorrow. So keep that in mind, Cammy. I appreciate you bringing that up. What I will say also is this. To me, Wendy has not really become Zen Wen because I feel like she still can pop off quite quickly, okay? Just like she popped off on Ashley quite quickly. She popped off on the last season. She popped off the same way at Mia. So I don't really feel like she's that different. And I know Wendy would like to call herself Zen Wen, but sometimes Wen ain't so Zen, okay? But she wasn't Zen last season either, okay? I feel like she's more fun this season, but she can still pop off when she needs to, okay? So I don't really feel like she's changed all that much in how she's responding to people, okay? Marlene says Wendy should continue to be herself and not succumb to those who don't want her to be herself. Sad green-eyed bandits. Amen to that, Marlene. Thank you for that super chat. Giselle says, we're friends. We can have a conversation about it. There's no judgment, but the entire conversation is full of judgment, okay? Giselle says, anyone who's making these kind of changes, something is off. And there are some cheating allegations with her husband. So this is the third time Giselle has brought up these cheating rumors on the camera. Here's the thing about the rumors. Let's just talk about it real quick and plain, real quick. It is one thing for the rumors to be out in the news and on the blogs and in the media outlets. That if the rumor is out there, the rumor is out there. If Wendy and Eddie deny it, they deny it. That's one thing. But when you bring it to the show, I think it's quite another thing, because what you are saying then is, I want this issue to be highlighted on this show and amplified. Now, to bring it up once is already bad enough. To bring it up twice, which we know she did, is even worse. But to bring it up a third time to another party is just out of control at this point. It's out of control. Before I get too far deep into what I was about to say with that, Gadget Girl says Wendy is very sexy. She doesn't need to show 90% of her boobs to be sexy. And that is true too. I mean, sex appeal comes in a variety of packages. It's just about how you want to wrap up your package, okay? Boom. They did the same thing to Monique. If you guys may recall, and I didn't want to bring this up, but if you guys may recall the incident where Ashley put it out there that Monique had the accident because she had a couple of beverages. they acted like they were concerned about her and they didn't, you know what I'm saying? It just, all of this stuff comes out of concern for the person. And they also did the same thing with Monique with regards to the rumors that were apparently, oh, this is the rumor. They bring it to the show. And now it feels like Gizelle is making it a point to continue to bring this up time after time after time. Though she's saying, I don't know that it's true, but maybe she's overcompensating because she knows these rumors are out there. And even Robyn has to say, I don't think those rumors are true. Like, she has to basically be the voice of reason in this moment and say, listen, I don't think that those true. And I feel like she's almost thinking, girl, you tread into the wrong territory. But Gizelle is off and running with these rumors, boy. She is off and running. Okay. Gizelle then kind of redirects and says, well, it could be that she's heard the rumors and she's trying to overcompensate. Okay. Cue the moment where Wendy walks in. Okay. Wendy walks in at that moment. Hey, girl, what y'all talking about? Gizelle is like, hey. And Wendy's like, were you guys having a deep conversation? Gizelle is like, no. Okay. So yeah, it's basically like this. It's y'all concerned, but it's when she walk in the room, it's crickets. You ain't got nothing to say. What kind of concern is that? We got Octavia who says, Jazabin are the raisin potato salad no one wants at the picnic. Wendy looks good. I think she looks great too. I do think she looks amazing. Why not? Why not have fun with your girlfriends and show off your new body? You know what I'm saying? With people that are supposed to uplift you. Danella says, is Jamal and Juan coming? Those bitter witches don't like to see nobody happy or making positive changes regarding their lives. Thank you for that super chat. And Train with Jazz says, Candace put Wendy in the cottage with Karen because she doesn't appreciate how close they've become. Ooh, interesting observation. Interesting observation. Yep, they should have talked to her then. All right, so let's get back to it. Someone says I missed the super chat from JD. Let me try to find it. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm trying to find a super chat. I don't see it, JD, but if you type it in again, I'm going to look for what exactly you said so that I can highlight that point as well. All right. So, Gizelle says in her confessional that Wendy is making some big significant changes, and typically that means that something is going on. Okay. Glenda says Gizzard Neck and Mockingbird needs a life. They wish they could afford what Wendy had done. Wendy looks great. I think so too. Thank you for that super chat. So they get downstairs. Candace gives all the ladies robes and swim caps because they're going, to do the aerobics class for the next day. And then they head out to the restaurant. We learned that Karen is not going to be doing water aerobics the next day because she needs to keep that hair intact for her Surrey County swearing in. We learned that a whiskey distillery will be coming to do a whiskey tasting, and Wendy is excited and calls herself Whiskey Wendy. Gizelle says, well, how many names you going to get for yourself? Okay. And then dinner is served. Candace talks about her relationship and gender roles being reversed and how Chris believes in her more than she believes in herself. And Gizelle is like, well, do you pay him? And Eskel asks, well, when does he have off hours? They got a lot of questions, and Candace relays that she's working on trying to figure all that out. We got another super chat from Christavia, who says Wendy has blossomed this season and it seems that they want to knock her down. Wendy was 2 months postpartum last year, so we're seeing the real Wendy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. So Gizelle asks Candace, what does your mother think about this whole situation with Chris being your husbander? Candace says she doesn't like it, but if she thought that he would try to skate off of her success, she would not have married him. So Gizelle says, you don't want to resent him for not getting his own hustle on or for him to be riding your coattails. I thought this was a very interesting conversation because, as you guys may notice, Gizelle is again in her big sister almighty mode as she is doling out advice to one girl after another, one housewife after another. She has advice, prescriptive advice. This is what you should be doing. And it is very the Empress sorority sister, the head cheerleader in charge, is giving the girls the business. And it's interesting that she's giving so much relationship advice when she herself was not able to successfully navigate her last relationship or any of the relationships that she's brought to the show. Not that you need a relationship in any way, shape, or form. I'm not advocating for that, but it's just interesting that she's giving all these ladies such in-your-face, direct advice when she herself doesn't seem to be able to take her own advice. Interesting. Candace says that won't happen to her because she understands her own marriage. So then it's Robyn's turn up next. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. She talks about how unmotivated she is, and Juan doesn't like it. Gizelle says that, she needs to get up and make some changes, basically, because no man wants to marry unattractive. Karen observes that Gizelle takes in so much information about other people and deflects and continues to give them advice and talk about their situations so that nobody can focus on herself, as we talked about earlier. So then Gizelle asked this question: Robyn, are you neglecting the kids? I would have been offended if my friend asked me this on national television, because it has a much wider ranging implications than just a simple question. And I think that she has to know that. And so Robyn then, in an interesting moment of transparency, says yes. And she admits that Corey's grades are slipping. Okay. I just didn't like the fact that I wouldn't ask my friend that. Because that's a strong word, neglect. Okay. But it's an interesting conversation. I have to say that. Ascala says that this sounds like depression, and we've talked about that here on this channel. Robyn thinks that maybe it's seasonal depression, but it could be laziness and her just not being motivated. Ascala makes some good points about dealing with depression and how that could be manifesting itself right now. And Robyn says she's considering a life coach or therapy or counseling. And Mia says that basically talking about it with her friends is a good start. And I would have to say that that is true. And I agree with Ascala's advice that she does probably need to talk to somebody, because it don't sound too, it sounds like it could continue to snowball if she doesn't do something about it. But I didn't like that Gizelle asked her that on camera. But it was, I guess some people may consider it real. So Wendy then mentions that the more she eats, the bigger her breasts get. Gizelle says, we're going to have to talk about that. So then Wendy says that she too, like Robyn, feels overwhelmed. And Gizelle says that she and Robyn were chatting earlier about the difference in Wendy this season versus last season. Robyn chimes in that her personality is different. Gizelle says, I've seen more of your body these past months than the entire time I've known you. But in my mind, I'm like, well, you've only known her for about a year and a half at this point. So, I mean, you don't really know her that well. Okay. And we've been in a pandemic. So how often were you hanging out with her in the off season? Anyway, Robyn says that she's more, drop it like it's hot and booty popping. And the Wendy that she met before was just not that loose. And I just feel like the word loose, again, they use the words that they're choosing to use during these conversations, to me, are very interesting, because the subtext is that she's a wild girl right now, right? She's wild and loose. You know what I'm saying? That's the subtext that I feel like I'm reading from what Robyn was saying. And again, there seems to be a little bit of implied judgment there, because what it's saying is, we met you as the professor, and this is the box that you fit in, and we're going to keep you in this box. That's how we prefer you. Okay. Candace in her confessional calls Robyn and Gizelle tweedle and twaddle and wonders why they're badgering Wendy. But in real life, in real time, she doesn't really say anything. Wendy is clearly offended. Gizelle says it's different than the substance Wendy who they first met. Now, Wendy at that point says women are often put in a box that you cannot be sexy and have substance. So then Mia surprisingly chimes in and says that Michelle Obama and Oprah wouldn't have their chest out. And if you are a professor, you have to embody that. I disagree with Mia here. And I feel like, you know, branding wise, maybe Michelle Obama wouldn't do that. And maybe Oprah wouldn't do that. But that doesn't mean that the next woman can't do it, right? That doesn't mean that at all. And I think that there are also significant age, I mean, not significant, but there are a little bit of an age gaps between Wendy's age and Michelle Obama and Oprah's age. So they may be doing different things and wearing different types of clothing, right? And we don't know exactly what each of these women would wear in their off time. We only know what they look like when they photographed it on camera. And it was surprising to me that Mia said it, because I would have felt like, because she was so open about so many things, that she would have been on the side of Wendy. But given that her and Wendy still aren't on the same page yet, maybe that is why she is not yet on Wendy's side in this issue. So Giselle then says, well, Wendy says, I'm all of those things and still sexy. And that Giselle saying substance Wendy was triggering. Okay. Giselle says, well, you were sexy last year. And Wendy rightly says, I define my sexiness, not you. So Giselle continues that Wendy's personality is different. And she asked if she was not comfortable with her body last year. And Wendy says, no woman 2 months postpartum is the same she was prior to. And that to me is just like the truth of the matter. I'm not a woman, so I don't really, this conversation is interesting and enlightening to me as a man. And I can only imagine the changes that go through a woman's mind and body after giving birth. So I can only also imagine what it may feel like to, you know, have your body kind of reshaped after you've had to, you know, breastfeed and do all of these other things to care for a child, when that was your first priority for a while. And now you can sort of get back to you and working on your body now that you've made sure that your body was a caretaker for a child for such a long period of time, right? So Robyn says, do you feel like this body has made you more confident? Wendy says that she can be dynamic and be all of those things. Karen basically tries to interject and says to tell her to stop defending herself, that they should be able to talk about their pubic hair and everybody should be okay with it. You can clearly see that Karen was trying to lighten the moment, but Giselle was not letting up for whatever reason. She then says, you were coming from Mia's neck and it was a little more than in your face than I've seen you in the past. And then we flash back to that moment. To me, the way Wendy went at Mia was no different than the way she went at Ashley. That is why I say to you, I feel like there's really not that big of a difference in her going off on somebody. She'll pop off when she needs to, or when she feels like when she feels it's right. Wendy says, well, and we know now that the reason why she really popped off the way she did at Mia was because she had already had an argument with Giselle prior to. So Wendy says, well, that was an accumulation of things that had happened over time. So then we got a super chat from Teresa who says, Oprah and Michelle are being watched for everything they do by the whole world. Ain't nobody checking for Wendy like that. Thank you for that super chat. Basically, Giselle sums it up in this way. Apparently I missed 2 super chats. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm trying to read my notes and also read the chat. Tish P says, I don't think Wendy is busting it open. That's what loose means to me. I'm here for hot bod Wendy. We got another. Did we get another one? Did I miss another one? Please, y'all, charge that to my mind and not my heart if I miss a super chat. I just want to make sure that I get in all of my notes and all of my thoughts. So I'm trying to, make sure I get both things done. So I'm trying to work it in there. Okay. So then Wendy says, are there any more questions? Sasha says, meanwhile, Giselle won the ugly sweater contest. The thing that I think bothered me also too was that Robyn then says this, and you could tell that Robyn probably felt bad about what they were doing to Wendy. But when she said this to me, it was almost even worse than what they were saying before. She said this. We just want to know that you're okay. Wendy says yes. And then Robyn basically says something to the effect that we want you to know that you're not defined by how you look, or we don't want this new body to define you. And I just felt like that comment right there was a very big assumption about what makes Wendy tick and what makes her who she is in this moment. It just really bothered me so much because it's a big assumption. I'm incensed by this entire conversation because as they were talking to her, what I saw was them dimming her light. And I didn't like it. And you can see it happening. You can see it happening. So Askala asked Gizelle, so since you've been asking everybody all these questions, there have been a lot of conversations about you and your significant other. And it's confusion. Is you or is you not in a relationship? So then Gizelle says, well, I'm not going to answer that question in front of trolls because there are people that have decided to lie. And so I'll discuss that with you in private. No, girl, you will discuss it right now. Okay. You have had advice and you have had so much to say about everybody else at the table. But when it comes time for you to start answering some questions, you mean to tell me you can't answer not a question when you done put everybody else's relationships on blast? No. And Wendy basically says, that's not fair. Karen then chimes in and says, don't speak for me. I'm not a liar. Your whole life is a lie, okay? Your entire life is a lie. And you want us to tell you all about our lives very deeply. But when we question you about yours, you are very defensive and then you attack. And you could just see Wendy over off to the side cackling. You can see Candace shaking her head too because she know what's up, right? So then the conversation pretty much goes nowhere between, Karen and Gizelle. And that's when Robyn says, Wendy, you were drop dead gorgeous before, and I don't want the changes in your body to define you. Again, that just irked my spirit for some reason. Wendy says, thank you. But in that moment, honestly, you could see that Wendy was deflated mentally. Like, because she says that I'm going to be wearing sweaters around you girls, you guys from now on, because they have her feeling some type of way. And Gizelle says, well, we can't ask. If we can't ask Wendy questions, then that's a problem. No, you can't be asked questions. No one can ask you a question because you refuse to answer anything. Wendy basically was put on trial about how she looks and what she wears. And you can't even answer one question about this relationship that you touted on national TV as legit. Girl, get out of here. So then they leave for dinner. Wendy, Karen, and Askala go back to the cottage in the woods. Wendy says, I'm glad you ladies are my roommates. And Karen says there's peace in this house. Gizelle and Robyn get together. And Robyn asks Gizelle, do you think Wendy is in her head right now? And I'm like, duh. Y'all basically ran her into the ground. And Gizelle says, yeah, but she's glad they talked to her and got out their feelings. Basically, again, the subtext that I'm reading here is that I'm glad we beat her down into submission. Okay, this is your place, Wendy, and you need to know the box that you fit in this group. And we are the ones who will determine what that box is, not you. Okay, don't step outside of that box because we don't like it. So Wendy's feeling some type of way now about her relationship with Gizelle. And in her confessional, she says that her left implant has more substance than Gizelle. Okay, I thought that was hilarious. Now, the next day, Candace is up working on dance routines for her song Drive Back as the instrumental is playing in the background. Mia is working and Robyn is, of course, asleep as usual. Wendy and Karen decide to have a little conversation. We got another super chat. From Gregory, who says, I see Gizelle ain't learned nothing from the reunion last season, still running around gossiping about people's relationships. Exactly. I'm trying to read, see if I had anything else that popped up on the screen. And some people feel like Deborah says, I like the older Dr. Wendy better. To be Black Native says, we moms know about dropping breasts after childbirth. Amen. Amen. Wendy and Karen get together. Karen observes that Wendy is more covered up today, and that if she's dressing for Robyn and Gizelle, then she needs to go and change her clothes and put on whatever she wants to wear, because they're about to get into the pool. She also says that Wendy did not deserve everything that Gizelle and Robyn gave to her the night before, and to not dim her light for Gizelle. Wendy says she looked at Gizelle like a big sister. So that substance comment really hurt her. And again, this is where I talk about the women looking at Gizelle as sort of a big sister almighty. And I don't really like that. And if you guys don't know what I mean when I say big sister almighty, I'm really referring to the title in School Days, where they called one of the characters Big Brother Almighty. So that's where that reference comes from. Chime down in the chatterization if you remember School Days, because that's the reference that I'm using right here. So she looked at her like a big sister. So she's hurt. She gets emotional. Karen hugs her and tells her not to cry in front of Gizelle, and that it's only when women feel insecure that they tear down another sister. Okay, so y'all get the reference. Okay, good. Y'all, this episode to me was yes, Dean, Big Brother Almighty. Exactly. And the funny thing about it is, that's so interesting, and I'm glad you brought this up. Gizelle and Wendy are sorority sisters. They're both AKAs. So there is an even deeper level here than I think what we're actually realizing on the surface, that's bubbling beneath the surface. And I wonder if that too plays a part in their interactions. So that's why I rated this episode a 10, y'all, because I just feel like there was so much that was being said and so much that was not being said. And I definitely I'm on the side of Wendy with regards to what she wants to wear, how she wants to change, what energy she wants to bring. People should be free to be who they want to be and however they want to be them. And granted, yes, it may be confusing to a person, but I do think it is okay to pull that friend aside and say, listen, hey, girl, maybe in private, I noticed you've been like a little bit different. What's going on? Is everything okay? Address it head on. Gizelle had ample time and opportunity to pull her aside and say, listen, girl, here are the rumors that are running around the streets. I'm concerned about you. What's going on? But she never did that. What she has done is, instead of addressing Wendy head on, she has run to Ashley twice, and then she's run to Robyn to talk about the rumors versus addressing it with the person that it's actually about. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's where the issue comes in. And next week, we're going to see Ashley have to do the job and actually, earn the paycheck to tell Wendy that this is what's happening. There's a rumor out here and it's being spread amongst the group, and that Gizelle is the one doing it. But ultimately, Candace is going to kick Ashley out because she doesn't realize that it was actually Gizelle that brought it to Ashley and not the other way around. Okay. It's a mess, y'all. It's a mess. So I want to say thank you guys for tuning in to this review. I see some people did not like the servant comment. Listen, I apologize. I was basically repeating what she said, and I hate that I even used that reference as she did in an even worse way. So I apologize for that, because I don't really even like that I said it. But I was in the moment, and that's what I had written in my notes. So yeah. So I'm gonna tell y'all, next week is about to be good. I thought we was gonna get the board between Gizelle and Wendy this week, but they did a little trickerization with us with that editing, as they typically do with all of these trips. They'll try to give us a cut of a preview that ain't gonna come for about 2, 3, 4 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So we got to wait till next week, but I think it's going to be good. Make sure we watch in Bravo's chat room so we can see all the good guests that they're going to be having on there. I think Karen's episode will probably be next Sunday after the Real Housewives of Potomac's episode next week. So that's going to also be good. And if you guys are interested, at about 2 p.m., I'm going to do a review for Love and Marriage Huntsville. Well, actually, it may be about 3 p.m. because I have an interview to do at 1 p.m. And then I still need to watch the episode. So just give me a moment and we're going to get to that today because I do want to discuss that. A lot of stuff went down with Love and Marriage Huntsville, and we got to get all up into it. Okay. And this is based on the previews that I've seen. So hopefully you guys will come back for that. With that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Oh, y'all know what? I love y'all. Tell somebody else that. Spread the love. I love y'all. I had to say that. I had to say it one time. All right, y'all. I'm going to see y'all in the next one.